Hi, my name is Libby Garnett, and our research project was called Understanding and Predicting the Types of Emotional Support in Response to Suicidal Ideation on Social Media. So, suicide is one of the most serious public health problems facing our world. And in recent years, its prevalence and the severity of the threat it poses have increased, and so too have our methods to prevent it. In fact, there's a 30% increase in the rate of death by suicide between 2000 and 2016. One groundbreaking and fairly recent method of suicide prevention is the use of social media and online forums to help individuals who may be undergoing a crisis or in a state of distress. The potential that social media brings to the table for a fast response to an individual experiencing suicidal ideation or urges could well likely be life-saving. Technology could account for the times that a human response doesn't occur fast enough. Now, in order to better understand and utilize this potential that social media has, r/suicide is a subreddit on the internet forum Reddit. That's what we analyzed. And on this subreddit, individuals in crisis are able to post about their situation and receive responses from other Reddit users. Then these responses were analyzed and categorized into 4 categories: praise, validation, advice and teaching, and encouragement. Then, by taking into consideration the number of upvotes, which is a way that Reddit users can agree with or validate a certain response, a particular response got, it was determined which of the 4 subcategories was the most helpful for an individual in crisis, according to the users of Reddit. Our main tools for this project were Jupyter Notebook and Python, which we used for coding language to implement our data into code. And the data we collected from public data posted on Reddit, the online forum, both the posts and the responses from the other users. The ultimate purpose of our project is to create a program in artificial intelligence that automatically generates responses which provide emotional support to someone experiencing suicidal ideation on social media. So our method was, first, we do data collection and data analysis. So we get our data from Reddit and we analyze it to determine which is the most helpful. Then we use classifiers to find highly correlated language within each category, which basically means words that are often found in these categories or that are heavily associated with them. For example, like love might be associated with the category validation. And ultimately, we will use that information to complete a program that could generate a response. First, the first step is data collection and analysis. So all the data is public records, public data, which is collected from Reddit, the online forum, specifically the Suicide Watch category of Reddit. And individuals with suicidal ideation write about themselves. They talk about what they're struggling with or what their reasons are for thinking about taking their own lives. And the responses to them from their peers fall into 4 categories of praise, validation, encouragement, or advice and teaching. So when they respond to the individual in crisis, those are the kind of responses they're giving. And the annotators of the data, which are Rebekah and I, along with our graduate student, Michael, label the responses into one of the categories and just continue to do that for many different responses in order to get more data. So for example, this is the original post. This individual is expressing their struggle or what they're struggling with. And we would look at that and we would say, below that, we see the response and we look at that response and we try and categorize it into one of the 4 categories. So when the responder says, "What are you studying? What are your career goals? If you want to talk to someone, feel free to private message me." This could kind of be validation because they're saying that they've experienced this too. So that's the kind of thing that you would use to categorize.
Great. So I'm going to talk about the classifiers that we use in our research. After enough data has been annotated, we'll classify those data. There are different types of classifiers that we use in our research. The first one is the uniformity of the annotated data as a whole. And the second one is the multinomial NB plus TF-IDF. The third one is SGDC classifier plus TF-IDF. And the last one is research CV. So those different classifiers has different accuracy of the data that we have found. The uniformity of the annotated data, the accuracy for that is 0.469. And the accuracy for the multinomial NB is 0.417. And the accuracy for the SGDC classifier is 0.486. And it's the same with the grid search CV. So after the accuracy of the data has been found, we'll start training our classifiers. Then after we train the classifiers, we will find the most correlating language within each categories. So after we found the most effective classifier, the most correlated language in each response will be found. For example, the advice and teaching will be love, and encouragement is way, praise equals read, and validation is understand. Then after those correlated language has been found, we'll use the chi-square test based on TF-IDF features to measure the correlation. And those are some examples of our correlated language within the four categories.
As you can see there, the words that people would use in their responses fall into the categories, but some of them overlap.
Then this is our future work, since our research is still ongoing, would be the development of our program. So the last one is the development of the program, which is our future work, which is generate automatic responses to posts with the most effective responses in the category. And then creating artificial intelligence presents the opportunity for the much faster response to suicidal ideation on social media. And then we would account for the times a human does not respond fast enough. So the discussion of our research is what are the places that we run into trouble with during our research. The first one would be the professionality of the annotated data from the MTurks. At the beginning of research, we use MTurks as our annotator, but then soon we found the accuracy of the data is not improving and does not meet our needs for our research. Then we stop using MTurks and then start annotated data among ourselves. And the second would be the overfitting problem of the data. We're still trying to work on that. The solution for this problem is to annotate more data to solve the overfitting problem. And the third would be the future difficulties when we start developing the data. The first would be the typos within each categories and along with the slangs and the modern language, because each response are generated from the peer. Sometimes or the most of the times the response would contain slangs. For example, wanna is the same thing as want to, but then we have to train the data to or train the machine to learn that. And then the third one would be the most effective classifier that we still are looking right at this point. So those are the questions that we got from our peers. The first one is, how do we annotate our data? Libby has shown the example of our survey. So that is how we annotate our data. And then second is what happens if one response could fit in two different categories. So since we have three annotators, we'll discuss among ourselves whether this response fit into these categories, and we'll talk among ourselves to solve this problem. And then the third question is there any other category besides advice and teaching that you are using? So advice and teaching are the most helpful categories that we have found right at this point, but there's actually four categories, which is advice and teaching, praise, validation, and encouragement.
As far as how we implement our data, like we said in our methodology, our plan is we collect the data and then we use that to find the most common words used or the highly correlated language. And then we're going to use that in our program to ultimately implement our data through social media to have our program run through social media in order to generate these responses. So that's how we plan to utilize social media. And the end goal of our project, how it will be applied and used. We talked about this a little bit, but obviously the end goal is to help lessen the damage that suicide has on our society. It's one of the top 3 leading causes of death not only in America, but in the entire world. And so obviously this is a very important issue and we don't take it lightly. So it's really important. We're very passionate about doing whatever we can in whatever small way to help with suicide prevention. So in that sense, that's more of the ideological goal, but also just to utilize this new potential that hasn't been researched as much as social media is a relatively recent idea in the last 20 or so years. So being able to take this new technology and implement it in ways that it hasn't been able to before in the fields of mental health and psychology. And that is all. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.